tonight. We have candidates who are running in the primary in June. They're going to get ample time to be able to tell us or explain to us why we need to vote for them in this upcoming primary. First, though, we're going to do a little house cleaning. Jason has done an excellent job in trying to organize a fun night. So, Jason, I'm going to ask that you come up. We'd like to get everybody's opinion on this and see if this is something that everybody would agree to do. Jason, come on up.
Thank you. One of our meetings a while back, I sent out a little pamphlet and just kind of gauged the organization's opinion on some events that we'd hold. Just fun events, not necessarily of political nature, but something that we as a group can just get together and enjoy a fun time out. One of those was a minor league baseball game. And this past week I was working with the Lakewood Blue Claws and secured us a block of 50 tickets to go as a group. It's going to be Saturday, July 13th. The game time is at 7:05 p.m., but everybody can show up a little bit earlier. One of the deals that I possibly have arranged with them that I'm still working out is getting a table set up either before the game or during the game that we can have all of our literature, all of our signage out, pass out our literature, business cards to anybody passing by, kind of as a means to get our name out, get our word out, and hopefully maybe recruit some new members. So that is one of the options that we are working out. Again, it's going to be July 13th, 7:05 p.m. I have flyers and I have pieces of slips of paper to hand out to everybody to sign up. So if you're a Tea Party, if you're an East Jersey Tea Party member, sign up. Bring your spouses, your partners, your kids. We'll bring everybody. Yes.
Do I have to be East Jersey Tea Party member to come?
We'd like to open it up first to the Tea Party members of East Jersey, and then once we get everybody, then we'll certainly open it up to the other Tea Parties as well. But we certainly want to get our organization in first, and then we'll pass it along to the others once we get a accurate count of who's interested, and if I will be able to secure more tickets from the Blue Claws. It's going to be $9 for adults. Seniors and children are going to be $7. I have to find out for sure what exact ages that requires. If you want to eat at the ballpark, they're going to be giving us discounted vouchers that you can purchase for an additional $4.75. And so that's basically it. I'll pass the brochure around. If you have East Jersey Tea Party shirts or any other kind of patriotic wear it, show up, show everybody who we are, show them the numbers that we have, and just get our name out there.
Thank you, Jason. July 13th. Jason, that was great. Thank you. Jason put a lot of time into this, so let's come out and as a group and have fun. And we'll cheer for the Mets. Okay.
Loser!
We're going to go from fun right to business. John O'Rourke last month wanted to implement a fair tax vote. You've all had a month now to be able to read up on it and make that decision. So John, come on up. Let's get this.
Don't run all over the place either.
Yes, stay
Thank you, everybody.
Stand back. Get over to the right, the left. You're out of frame.
Okay. I wanted to just start off by saying that I remember a couple of months ago when Dan was going to do a second term, and his wife came up. His wife's name is Susan, and she said, "Dan, you have to stop preaching to the choir." And the reason I bring that up is that we've spoken about the fair tax on 2 occasions here at the East Jersey Tea Party. And we consider you guys to be the choir. But it's now, I think it's time for the choir to sing. And that's why I'm here to say we'd like to, at least at Fair Tax New Jersey, we would like to ask the Tea Parties that we have spoken to pass a resolution to let the members of Congress know that the people are for this. And that's one of the reasons I asked back in, when we had a reorganization meeting, what we were going to do this year, back in December, right after the election. I asked it, could we pass a resolution? And Dan said, well, let's have another presentation, which we did in February. And that's why we had Dave Corsi come back. And I think it's now time for the Tea Parties to take some action. Rather than just, we just clap at the end of a presentation and then we go home and everybody forgets about tax reform. So that was the purpose of this. So I had asked Joe Ellen for the April meeting to bring it up, but it was sort of at the end. I think people were kind of tired. There was some questions, and we decided to postpone the vote till now. So like to just start it back over to Joe Ellen.
No, you're going to proceed. You're going to ask. Take the vote.
Actually, the president should do it as an official function of the president.
That's right.
Tea Party.
Okay. How many would like to work with John? What we're going to do is we're going to basically go before our representatives and
We're just going to vote on it.
we're going to vote today whether we want to bring this forward to our representatives. How many here would like to see the fair tax come into fruition? Who? Well, we got, John, you counting? Because it looks like you got a good majority here. Yes. Well, let him take a count first. Keep your hands up, please. I know, but John, we don't have time. We've gone over this so many times now. You ready, John?
Okay, I got 39.
Okay, how many are against going before our representatives to try to get fair tax going? How many are against? Against it. Okay, how many have no opinion? I think majority rules, John, get that resolution going, and as the East Jersey Tea Party, we will back you. Thank you all. Jason has something to say. Quickly.
All right, I passed a bunch out to some tables. If you didn't get it, just come over to me at the end of the speeches. I'm sitting over here. Also, you could just fill out your interest form and how many tickets that you think you'll need and pass and bring them back to me. I'm not collecting money until next month's meeting, so you have some time to also think about it. So next month I'll be collecting money. Yes, just bring your forms to me if you already do know, and you don't have to bring your money until next month. Also, for the payment for the baseball game, cash only.
Okay, our treasurer Steve's going to come up. Yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll get that out to everybody. Steve, our treasurer, is going to give us an update on our account. Steve?
Okay, how's this for brief? There was no action at all over the last 30 days, so our account is still at $565.26. Hopefully we'll be adding to that this evening as we do our pass the hat, so you will see some of us coming around later and you can help add to our coffers. Thanks. Oh, the insurance bill is not going out yet, but our insurance is due this month.
How much is it?
$250, I think.
Okay, so
Take a
we're
little
going to
change.
be 200 and something less, so let's build up our coffers. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Okay, I'm trying to get all the housework done. So, we are planning to march in the Memorial Day Parade again. Oh, you know what? Real quick, before, we had a great time at our rally against the Asbury Park Press. It was awesome. I thank everybody who was there. I thank people who were, I know somebody was in the hospital, but they were with us in spirit. We had an awesome turnout. We had at least 80, 85 people there. On Route 66, where lots of traffic, we had so many cars honking in support for us. The police.
Say the other groups that were there.
I will.
Right here.
We had the police barricading us from getting into the parking lot of the Asbury Park Press, but didn't deter us. We just parked in spaces around there, and we walked over to where we all met. Bayshore Tea Party was with us. Bayshore, can we give a hand for them? Yeah! And Bayshore, we're going to reciprocate. We'll be there when you need us, but we're going to try to be involved as much as possible. And I'll tell you before the end of the meeting, we have a great event that's going to come up soon. We had the New Jersey Second Amendment people there. Can we get a hand for them? They were great. Many of the candidates who are here tonight, they were standing with us strong at the rally there. At one point, I did sneak into the back. Yes, I am a New Yorker, I do that. And there was somebody out there smoking. And I challenged him to go get a reporter to come and investigate as to what was occurring out right in front of their building. Dan worded it perfectly. We see a reporter walking out the building, and I am not exaggerating her walk. This is how she's literally walking toward us.
Slow. Oh, yeah. Slow.
Dan asked her, did she get the short straw? She was very pleasant. She took whatever information we gave her with a nice smile, and then very nicely she told us, don't expect us in the papers tomorrow. And guess what? She was right. But
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. I did write a letter. A letter went out to everybody, I think. We had a great time. We're going to do it again at the Memorial Day Parade. Let's get out there. Let's wear our T-shirts. Let's carry out our flag, which, by the way, you all read about that one veteran who had his Tea Party flag up, and they tried to tear it down. Let's be strong. Let's be courageous. Let's be out there. Let the people see that we have not gone away, that we're not going away. And if we can do it as a group, that's even better. John?
Yes, the Memorial Day Parade, is that in Jackson again?
Yes, in fact, Dan's going to come up and give us information about that. And then from there, he and Denise are going to give us some information on Common Core. So Dan?
Denise just gave me a shocked look. I got you covered. Okay, last year we had the Memorial Day Parade. It was a blast. If you remember the parade we had, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, someone had the great idea of handing out little flags. Well, we have our own little flags. I think we bought 1,000. And we have little stickers that we're going to stick on the stick and hand them out. They went like hotcakes. The kids loved them. The parents loved them. They were waving them. It's a great little thing. Last year we met on May 28th. It was a Monday, and we met at 9 o'clock at the Jackson Memorial High School at 101 Don Connor Boulevard. This year, I believe that Monday is the 27th or the 29th. I don't know, but it's the Monday of the last Monday in May, and we're going to probably meet in the same place. So we don't have the details yet, but I imagine it's not going to change one iota. So it'll be about 9 a.m. at the Jackson Memorial High School, again at 101 Don Connor Boulevard. Be there or be square. It's going to be a beautiful day. I guarantee there's going to be no rain, right?
It's going to be beautiful.
Okay. It is the 27th. So there you go. Another quick thing, there's been a lot of candidates. Okay, just a quick little change here. Common Core, since I stepped down as shut up, you. I was not going to do it. I was going to just pick an issue and try to go with it. And Common Core popped up. I don't know how many have heard of it, but I started a Facebook page called Citizen Action for Fair Education, CAFE in parentheses. There's another one, several other sites. Shelley Kennedy has one. It's called Cure New Jersey. That's a page, mine's a group on Facebook, and a lot of you people are not on Facebook. Shame on you. If you're reading your emails and think you're being informed, you're just reading last week's news when you're reading your emails. I'm sorry to say, but Facebook really is the way to communicate, and I'll quickly demonstrate why. I got my page up. I have now 136 people on there. That's a lot of people. They're all from New Jersey. They're all communicating all through the different counties and whatnot. We're all talking to each other, trying to work this Common Core and get our facts straight, get our facts sourced so we cannot be rebutted, and we're working together. Bigger than that. The same time that I started that little page, a woman from California, a Board of Ed member, president, started a Facebook page called Parents and Educators Against Common Core. And somehow or other she got mentioned on the Glenn Beck show, and she now has more than 3,600 members. So we have the entire country talking to each other through this Facebook group. So anybody who poo-poos Facebook, this is the way the Arab Spring people did it. That's the way we're doing it, and I would really encourage you to go back at a couple emails. I put a link in there on how to start a Facebook thing. It's very simple. If you want to get in on a cause or whatnot, even a hobby. If you like fishing, there's fishing pages out there. You'll make other friends. It's very important. Common Core, real briefly. Texas bowed out of it, but they now have C-scope, so they're still fighting it. Nebraska's out, Alaska is out, Indiana, I believe, recently took a vote, they're out. South Carolina is legislating to pull out of it. And by the way, I don't know if you heard, got on Facebook yesterday, that they nullified Obamacare in South Carolina. So, there you go. Virginia's out, and we have the Virginia people are saying, oh, they're trying to get back in, so they're all talking, we're all talking to each other. It's really great. I think Ohio is out as well. So that's what's going on with Common Core, and by the way, I wrote a little opinion piece, gave it to my assemblyman, Ron Dancer, who's a good guy, and he's forwarding that on to the State Board of Education for their rebuttal, and I was guaranteed a copy of their rebuttal so that I can tell them, no, you're wrong. Thank you.
Is this related to Achieve New Jersey?
Yes, it is. Achieve Incorporated. New Jersey is part of Achieve Incorporated. Achieve is a non-profit, just like we're about to be, hopefully, if I get the letter, once I get the letter. And they are funded by Bill and Melinda Gates and other foundations, including stimulus money. And if you think the Common Core was state, they're going to say well, this was state-led. No, the NGA, the National Governors Association, is not a bunch of governors. It's a few governors and maybe a couple ex-governors, but they are a private trade association, as is PARC, which I'm not going to even try to decipher what that acronym means. I have it written down. So this is not state-led, and our legislator did not vote on it. No legislator voted on it. As a matter of fact, Chris Christie signed off on this to get the money before he knew what was in it. The standards were not written when he signed off on it. That's a fact. I have the timeline. Some of the assessments have yet to be written, and everybody's doing this. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's not. There's a lot of teachers against it. Randy Weingarten on the radio yesterday said it was ill-prepared. It's a total mess, and we're going to win this one between now and September. Thank you.
You see, you hear Dan, you hear Dan's passion. Every one of you out there have a passion for something. Every month, you're going to have access to this mic here, and whatever it is that you think is bringing our country down the wrong road, come on up, talk about it. It's up to us to make sure that America get back on the right track. Thank you, Dan. I think we're doing pretty well here.
Drum roll.
Okay, I'm sorry?
Drum roll.
We're going to have our candidates come on up. We have quite a few. We have our sheriff candidates, Mr. Bob Armstrong, come on up.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall.
Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, East Jersey Tea Party, for inviting me here tonight. This is a real surprise to see so many people here.
Pick that up.
It's a real surprise to see so many people here tonight. First, I'd like to introduce myself, Bob Armstrong. I am the Ocean County Democratic candidate for sheriff, and I'll explain that in a few minutes, how I became the Democratic candidate. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who Bob Armstrong is. Bob Armstrong has lived in Ocean County for over 60 years. I grew up in Brick Township. I went to grade school in Lakewood at St. Mary's Academy in Lakewood, which is now closed. I went to high school in, not too far from here, in Belmar, St. Rose High School in Belmar, because Brick Township didn't yet have a high school open. It opened while I was at St. Rose, and I just stayed at St. Rose. After growing up in Brick Township, I married. I've lived in Toms River for the last 40 years. I've been married for 42 years. I'll be 43 in June. I have 2 married children and 6 wonderful grandchildren. My daughter lives in Monmouth County up in Fairhaven. My son's in Toms River in Ocean County. Hopefully there's a lot of Ocean County people here tonight. I attended Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, an associate degree in law enforcement from Ocean County College, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice from Stockton College, the Richard Stockton College of New Jersey. They changed all these names. In Pomona, New Jersey. And I'm a graduate and undergraduate of the Air Command and Staff College at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. I'm a military guy. I have 32 years in the military. Thank you. I'm always very proud of that. I started out in the Army. I was drafted out of college. Actually, I worked not too far from here at Old Air State Park when I was in college. I worked at Island Beach State Park, and I was in Alair just before I entered the Army, so that was kind of nice coming up in this area again. And not that I don't come to this area a lot, because I love Pete and Elvis and all the places up this way. But anyway, I was drafted, I enlisted, I served 3 years in the Army during the Vietnam War era. I never was in country. All my time was CONUS or on special TDY assignments. I was in Army intelligence. All my time in the Army was investigations. After Vietnam, I was out for about 7 or 8 years, and I was actually at a criminal trial in Camden, New Jersey, and the guy talked me into joining the Air Force Reserve. And back in 1977, I joined the Air Force Reserve, and the organization was the Air Force OSI. It's kind of like the NCIS, but it's the Air Force version of NCIS. And all the OSI guys are still a little bit pissed that they got the show, we don't have the show. But, so I had a great career with OSI. I served all over the world. I was commander in various locations in the United States. I was at the Pentagon right after 9/11. I manned the counterintelligence and anti-terrorism desk. And believe me, that was quite an experience. And so that's my military experience. The guy I'm running against in Ocean County, he's never been in the military. So I'll just throw that right out there. I also have 40 years in federal, state, and local law enforcement. When I got out of the Army, it was a good time. I had a college degree, I had been in Army intelligence, and I took a job at the FBI as a special agent. That was when J. Edgar Hoover was the director. I was with the FBI for a short time, and I was being transferred from the Washington field office to Atlanta, and I was engaged to a girl from Philadelphia, my current wife, and we decided we didn't want to move. So I transferred from the FBI to the Treasury Department, and I became a special agent with the IRS Intelligence Division, which is now called the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. And actually, somebody said it was a fortunate career move. For me, it was a fortunate career move. It worked out well. At that time, the FBI didn't allow their agents to be in the reserve, so I was able to have a double career. And you'll note on those war cards that I sent out to you, the two persons that were indicted, Ritako, anybody from Ocean County would know about Ritako, but probably a lot of people from Monmouth County don't know. He was our superintendent of schools. Not that you guys in Monmouth County haven't had your share of corruption the last couple of years, because I've been reading about it. Even in the Asbury Park Press, they put that out. And I've had my problems with the press as well. So, what was I saying there? Huh? Ritako. Oh boy, what a guy. All those millions of dollars. You know, the people, right after he got arrested, they were still, oh, he did so many good things for the kids and all that. Well, I hope he's cooperating. I thought he was cooperating before he was sentenced, because he had his charges reduced to 2 or 3 counts, and the trial kept getting postponed. But ultimately, he got 11 years in the federal penitentiary. So now is when he's cooperating, because he may not be able to shorten his sentence, but he can shorten where, not shorten, but he can maybe lobby or bargain for where he gets put, what prison he gets put. So, for instance, if he has any friends or family who still want to visit him, he could push for something in Pennsylvania or Fort Dix or something like that. My hope is that he goes to Minnesota, at the Sandstone Penitentiary out in Minnesota, where I've been, and it's not a fun place, so that's where I hope he goes. And I also hope he's cooperating, because I think there's a lot of other public officials in Ocean County who are going to go down yet. All of them were close with Ritako. They were right-hand, I mean, the guy who's running for sheriff against me, close friend, associate, all kinds of rumors and talk about his association with Ritako. And we have a lot of good ideas for Ocean County. I want to get the guys out on the street. Ocean County is so different than Monmouth County. The jail, believe it or not, is not under the sheriff in Ocean County, if you could believe that. Most people don't even know that. The jail is a separate entity. 30 years ago, our freeholders pulled a quick one, a fast one, and they, by resolution, however that worked, they took it out from under the sheriff and put the jail under the freeholders. And they appointed the warden, who's been there for 30 years under appointment. So how about that? He's got no, the sheriff didn't fight it because it was the same, he made the same amount of money, it was less work for him, and he went along with it.
Shame.
So it's a shame, and we have a lot of duplication of administrative costs, and that could be improved on. Our overtime was like over $5 or $6 million last year, and and they would probably all point the finger towards the Storm Sandy. But these guys in Ocean County, all they do is guard the courthouse and serve paper. They're all fully qualified law enforcement officers. They're as qualified as the Belmar Police or the Wall Township Police, but they can cover the entire county of Ocean County, whereas the Wall Township Police only are police officers within Wall Township. Outside of Wall Township, they're just peace officers. But these sheriff's officers would be a great force multiplier in Ocean County. So I would argue for the consolidation of the jail and the sheriff's office like it used to be for 100 years. For 100 years they were together until the freeholders pulled a quickie. And you know, if you talk to the young guys, the young sheriff's officers, they all want to get out in the street and do the job for what they were trained for. They don't want to be sitting at a courthouse door asking you to empty your pockets. We got people who could do that. We could hire people to do that. But to pay full, these guys are making real good money as law enforcement officers and not facing any of the risk that a police officer, say at Wall Township, takes when he's out on patrol in the middle of the night and pulls somebody over in a blind stop. So they're getting the same amount of money, same retirement, hardly any risk. So I want to get them out there. I want to, all the young guys are all for it. I think it's the way to go. You might not also know this. In Ocean County, we have the jail. They call it a jail, like we live in Mayberry, RFD. It's a maximum security prison in downtown Toms River, in the village of Toms River. It's right next to the high school, if you can believe it. Across the street from the library, and all the businesses and homes are right there. I mean, I had a woman the last campaign tell me that her daughter played soccer for Central Regional High School. When they were playing the girls at Toms River South, out in the field behind the high school, all the prisoners were up on the windows, banging on the windows. So, I mean, what were they thinking when they did this? And not only did they do this, they could have rectified this mistake. In 2011, they spent $64 million renovating this jail, or maximum security prison. 1 minute, sir. Can you wait till the end, then I'll take questions. So I always say, being a former federal agent with all kinds of financial investigations behind me, I always say, follow the money. I wonder who got what on that deal. If I was the sheriff, I would certainly encourage the U.S. Attorney and the Attorney General to get in there. And how I became, real quickly, because I know you got a lot of candidates, I thought I was the only guy tonight, so I was going to talk.
That's not true.
Okay, but I wanted to real quickly tell you that I became, in 2008, I was a registered Republican. And I read an article in the and I wanted to run for sheriff. There was no way. And I could see, I just had a feeling of what was going on there. They just control everything. The nepotism and the control that these guys have, I said a machine, Republican machine in Ocean County is unbelievable. And there was no way to go with that, and I was disgusted with it. So I read an article in the press that said that Democrats never have a good candidate. So I said, you know what? I'm a conservative Democrat, at least a conservative Democrat. I could run for sheriff. So I did. I'm not an Obama guy. I didn't vote for Obama. I wouldn't vote for Christie the first time around. I voted for John Corzine because I thought Christie was dirty. I knew what happened to all those guys, the insider trading up in New York, and everybody got sentenced, but his brother got off. And I wondered, whoa, I wonder how that happened. So I'm glad to see we're on the same page here with Christie. And that's it. Thank you much, and I hope you can all read my walk cards. Any questions? I'm sorry. One chance. I promise this guy.
I think most of the people here would like to know, if you know Glenn Beck, you know how he talks about the sheriffs and the Second Amendment. Would you stand for people in the Second Amendment and not confiscate their guns if the government told you to do so?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I got right in my hand, I got the Sheriff Max book.
Good.
I'm the Sheriff Max. I have gotten no question about it. I'm a Second Amendment guy, all the way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Questions after the meeting? We do have this time limit. I did tell everybody 10 minutes. And next is Dan Peters.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Tea Party leadership. And thanks to all you patriots. I know what you do. I've been involved in the Tea Party myself for probably 6 or 7 years, I guess, going back. So I'm not going to preach to the choir. I'm not a politician, so I won't be long-winded. I'm not saying you're a long-winded, Sheriff. Actually, I appreciate everything you said. However, first and foremost, I'll tell you a little of myself. I've been involved in law enforcement and public safety for about 30 years. I started off as a police officer up in the small town of South Amboy, where I went through the ranks as a detective supervisor. I attended the New Jersey State Police Training Academy out of Middlesex County. From there, I was hired as a federal air marshal. I attended the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Artesia, New Mexico, where I trained for the Air Marshal Service. I've been a security director for large healthcare organizations. Presently, I'm a freelance executive protection contractor. I work for extremely high wealth individuals, making sure they get to their destinations, period. First and foremost, I'd like to say that I pledge that I will be a constitutional sheriff. The Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment should be first and foremost of anyone's platform. And that should be the litmus test for any elected official. If they cannot raise their hand and pledge that they will support that document, that should be a no vote from the get-go. I don't have to tell you, we're living in a very uncertain time right now. We have a lack of leadership. and more importantly, a lack of moral leadership. Our elected officials take the most precious gift we give them, our vote, and what do? After the November elections, see ya. We don't hear from them, and they will not listen to our wishes. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, vote against the incumbent if they are not on your side, period. The June 4th primary is the only chance that we really have a choice. We didn't have a choice in the past. Whatever happened in the past really isn't our fault. What happens after June 4th will be our responsibility if we all don't take action, get our butts into the voting booths and vote. Vote for your candidate, vote for the constitutional candidates, the candidates who are more like you sitting right here in this audience, like me, and my whole line. We have a line in Monmouth County, which is the Republicans for Conservative Leadership. We have a Senate candidate, 2 Assembly candidates, 2 freeholder candidates, and myself. We are all citizen candidates. We are not politicians. We are not connected to the machine. And getting back to what the sheriff had said, it is very difficult for a citizen politician to get involved in politics. You're going against a well-oiled, well-funded machine. They have the infrastructure in place, they have the financial backing, and as the sheriff said, when I approached the leadership, it wasn't what I can do, but what have I done for them? And that's not right. To think that out of a county of 600,000 people, there's only one candidate who can effectively do the duties that they're elected for is ludicrous and pretty conceitful. And that's the way these parties have become. The Second Amendment in the Constitution is not a Democrat issue, it's not a Republican issue. It's an American issue. And if we don't address that right now, without the Second Amendment, we have no Constitution. Our forefathers put that in there for a purpose. The purpose is to defend ourselves so it does ensure our rights. You know, it may sound cliche, you may hear that thrown around a lot, but I'm serious. I pledge to be a constitutional sheriff, and I need your backing. We can make a change. This is our chance. I need you to tell all your friends, your family, whether it's in Monmouth County or any county, to vote for the candidate who will pledge to defend the Constitution, and especially the Second Amendment. There is corruption. I believe that politics is another name for pollution. There's a lot of pollution in politics. There's a lot of pollution in our counties. The only way to get rid of this pollution is having good-hearted, credible citizens like myself and like our line stepping up to do the right thing. And I hope and pray that you'll get out and vote, that you'll support me, you'll support our line, and we can make a difference. We can turn things around, and we can take this country back. Thank you very much.
Next we have, we're going to have questions that,
I just want to ask Dan something.
Dan?
Dan,
Yes, ma'am.
can you tell me what the name of the constitutional representatives are again? You said it was Republicans or
Conservative leadership.
I think a few more of them are here. I'm not quite sure who's here at this point. Seth, will you come on up? And then whoever else is here, I can't actually see back there. If there are any more candidates, come on up, okay?
Seth Grossman!
Thank you. I'm Seth Grossman, and I'm running in the Republican primary on June 4th for governor against Chris Christie. Well, since this is twice the National Day of Prayer, and because we opened with the Battle Hymn of the Republic, I think that sets the tone of what my campaign is about. Because school children sing that song, Battle Hymn of the Republic, not having a clue as to what it means. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. So you picture this angry God stepping on these red grapes, which of course symbolize blood flowing all over the floor. That song written during the Civil War, when 300,000 men of the North, 200,000 men of the South died for what? And then when you think about what that song was written, you think about the New Jersey motto, liberty and prosperity, which means if you have liberty, you have prosperity. If you do the things that are required to secure liberty for all, and we all know what liberty means. Our Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that we're all created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So where you have a government that secures liberty, you also have prosperity. And we know that the Civil War was fought because Americans broke that covenant, and because they broke that covenant, all sorts of bad things happened. And that's really part of that whole Judeo-Christian heritage. The liberty and prosperity comes from that original covenant or contract made at Mount Sinai, where God tells the former slaves that if you follow these 10 commandments, you will live in a land flowing with milk and honey. And God says, will you follow these rules? And the people say, yeah. Okay, you get this land flowing with milk and honey. But after a couple of generations, everybody in a land flowing with milk and honey forgot the rules that allowed them to enjoy those wonderful things, and they soon lost everything. So really, that liberty and prosperity, this covenant made in Philadelphia, a contract made in Philadelphia in 1776, where Americans decided to make a new contract that we would follow these basic rules and principles of liberty. In return, we'd be blessed with peace, prosperity, and a good life. We're breaking that covenant, and of course, in the Civil War, by buying and selling human beings as slaves, that was a total breach of liberty, and that's what that song was about, that there are consequences when you breach that basic covenant with liberty. So I am considering myself part of the Tea Party, a conservative, to restore that contract, that covenant that created America in the first place. And there are some serious things that we have to do that. And it took me a long time to reach that point, by the way. Because when I started out in politics years ago, and it's hard to believe that here I am about to collect Medicare, but I was a boy wonder of Atlantic City when I started out. Fresh with all these great ideas out of college. That the trouble with government is that you have the wrong people running it. If only you had good, honest, decent people who would cut out the fraud and waste and just do what was vitally necessary, then we'd have good government. But after being on city council in Atlantic City, and by the way, I had to fight and claw my way to get on city council with a neighborhood group. I had to run, it was just when Mr. Armstrong said, oh, he couldn't fight, he had to become a Democrat because the political machine controlled the Republican Party. Well, when I got to be freeholder, the political machine controlled the Republican Party. So I ran in a primary election, went door to door, and knocked out the incumbent Republican by 1 vote, and that's how I got to be a freeholder. So when you understand and learn the system, you can do it. But then here's where I went off track. I said, all right, I want to do, just fight for what's essential. Until after being in politics, what's the definition of waste, fraud, and corruption? Why, that's money the government spends on somebody else. What's essential government services? Why, that's money the government spends on me. So as soon as I'm in office, all I find out is people are asking me for jobs and favors and all that stuff. I said, no, didn't you want it to be different? Oh, no. My brother-in-law can't find a job anywhere. You got to help him. And then I learned something else about politics. They say, friends come and go, but enemies accumulate. So it wasn't too long before I was out of office. But one thing I can tell you, because and when I was out of office, of course, I did everything else, raised a family, went into a neighborhood I couldn't afford, spent all my time working, letting the public schools educate my kids. And all I found out was that I come back 20 years later, we're losing the country because of that. So we got to get back to the basics. One thing I want to say, when someone says, I'm not interested in politics, the great Greek political leader Pericles said in ancient Greece, just because you don't take an interest in politics does not mean that someday politics will not take an interest in you. And as I come here, I find out that even though here I'm in Monmouth County, I feel right at home in Atlantic County. Because every road I go on, I see a for sale sign, a for rent sign, an empty building. The economy is being crushed. It's being crushed by high taxes, high debt, and politicians whose answer is, oh, if you want to do business, I'm not going to lower taxes for everybody. I'm just going to have a handful of special deals for special people, and that's the pay-to-play corruption. So how do we put an end to it? The first thing we have to do is say enough, and that's why my name is Seth Grossman. I'm running in a Republican primary. The people who are the so-called serious candidates, and by the way, I'm not covered in the Asbury Park Press, and the reporter, I forget his name, was honest enough to say why he wasn't covering me. He says, "You're not serious." What do you mean I'm not serious? Well, you don't even have $1 million in your campaign fund. How can you run for governor? And I said, well, what is it that you have to do to get $1 million of campaign funds? You have to do $100 million of favors, right? $100 million of waste and debt and things that's burning this state, and higher taxes to pay for them. So therefore we have a catch-22, don't we? That if you're a serious candidate, you're going to crush the economy with more debt, more taxes, more spending to repay the favors that got you the money. And if you want to put an end to that, well, you're not a serious candidate. So how can we overcome that? First step, the primary election on June 4th, the most important election of the year. Why? Because only 5% of the people vote in that election, which means a vote on June 4th has 20 times the power as a vote in November. So when I hear people talk about, oh, a Constitution Party, oh, Libertarian Party, no. You go in the primary where you have your maximum strength. Second thing, you run as bracketed slates of candidates. I wish the Monmouth County folks would have put me on a ticket, but you can make your own ticket and say, vote the complete line, because everybody brings strength to the ticket. And the third thing that goes to what we were hearing at the beginning about Facebook. I have been, even though I'm only one person, I have started with the Facebook, and little by little I'm up to about 2,000 people every week are following my campaign. That's Nick Polvino over there. He found me through a Facebook post, and if you get my email message, and I urge you to grossman4nj.com. Look for me on the web, look for me on your Facebook page, and then tell all my posts, share it with your friends so the 2,000 turns into 10,000, then I can make a difference. And it looks like my 10 minutes is up right now. Thank you very much for inviting me.
He did very well. Yes. Actually, two things. I would suggest the candidates stay and linger. And if we have time after, questions will be asked. Next is Steve, who's running for Assembly. And Steve, I'm sorry, as an Italian, I can't pronounce your last name. Pitiful. My father's rolling over in the grave. How do you pronounce it?
It's Baracchia.
Baracchia.
Just one question. When I said I wasn't on the ticket, I'm on the ballot in Monmouth County. I'm on the ballot in every single county. But in 5 counties, I'm running with bracketed slates of other people for Senate and Assembly. So one person just asked me a question. He said, I can't vote for you, I'm in Monmouth County. But yeah, you could vote. I'm on each of the 21 counties. But some counties I have slates, others I don't. So thanks for letting me clarify that.
Thank you. Steve?
All right, Steve.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here tonight. I want to give you a quick my quick background, my philosophy, and then what I want to do if I'm elected. By the way, I'm from District 13. We're a little bit just north of here, so anybody from the Monmouth County area, we'd like you to come out in the primary and vote for us, obviously. That's why we're here. But my name is Steve Baracchia. I grew up in New York City and went to school at the U.S. Naval Academy, graduated in 1983. I entered the Marine Corps after that, spent 6.5 years there, got out as a captain where I flew CH-53D Sea Stallion helicopters. I wasn't a hero. I was too old for Vietnam, and I got out just before the Gulf War, so I had a pretty uneventful career, but I was very proud to be there and do it. After that, I went into the oil industry, where I've been for the last 18 years, and then a few years ago, I decided to go back to law school at night, so I went to Rutgers, Newark, graduated from there in 2007, so I've got a law background. I'm licensed in New York and New Jersey. Anyway, as far as my philosophy goes, when our framers were sitting around trying to figure out what they were going to do with this new country and this new constitution, they weren't trying to decide how much power they were going to grab for themselves. They were trying to figure out how to limit the federal government and really protect our individual rights. And that's what the Constitution means. That's what government should be doing for us. Instead, over time it's devolved. It's become a study in opposites. And I can give you a couple examples. The Constitution is something that they call, it's counter-majoritarian. And what that means is, the Constitution is supposed to protect people, even when you have an alternative point of view, the weakest among us, you know, so that the majority doesn't go out and crush them. Well, over time, we've got judges who actually interpreted the Constitution in such a way that they found rights that did not exist from our Bill of Rights. And what they found was there was a right to privacy that took the most vulnerable and weak among us, the people who don't have a voice, who don't have the money for lawyers, who don't have political action committees, children, unborn children, and found that it was perfectly okay to kill them in the womb. That's totally opposite of what the Constitution was meant to do. I don't think anyone would say, I want to die. Everybody wants to live, and we need to protect our lives, wherever they're from, however they start. I believe it starts at conception, and it's a horrible thing that they've done with our Constitution. Second example is our Second Amendment. You look at the Bill of Rights. Now remember, the right to an abortion, it's nowhere in the Bill of Rights. It doesn't exist. And for many years, the Second Amendment never applied to the states until, I think it was 2010 with the McDonald case. Our Supreme Court finally stepped out and said, you have a right to own a gun, and the Second Amendment does apply to all the states. Prior to that, you can make any law and actually disarm anybody in any state, and the Constitution wouldn't really protect you. Well, now it does. But yet there are still judges and people out there that think, even though it says very clearly, we have the right to keep and bear arms, and it shall not be infringed, they act like it doesn't exist. So one of the pieces of legislation I want to propose is a concealed carry law in New Jersey. I want to throw out that stupid requirement that we have about having a reason. Because when you have a right, you don't need a reason. You only need the desire to exercise the right. That's what the Constitution stands for. So my Senate candidate's not here. She's going to have a similar bill in the Senate. We're going to bring that up jointly, and we're going to get this conversation going. I've got friends in Texas. I go down there. We go for a ride. I lift up the center a console, and there's a Glock in there. Totally legal. I go to Minnesota with my best friend, who's 4 kids in Marines. I like my goddaughter, his daughter, she's a captain in the Marine Corps right now. He's walking around with a 45. I'm afraid to put my 45 in my car and have something really minor go wrong, some technicality, God forbid I stop for a coffee, get pulled over, and I'm looking at 7 years in prison. Our state is ridiculous. The Castle Doctrine needs to be reinstated as well and changed.
Yes.
Then there's property tax. You guys like paying property tax? No, I don't either. One of the things I noticed when I started looking into New Jersey law and New Jersey history is our property tax system's got 2 serious flaws. Actually, one serious flaw called judges, but the results are 2 serious flaws. One is school tax, and it's not that school taxes are necessarily high, and listen to me when I say this, it's because the money that we pay, our income tax, that's supposed to come back to our schools, is being taken away and sent to other school districts. Now our school districts don't have the money, and what do they have to do? They have to ask us to pay more, so we pay twice. And the teachers, I know a lot of teachers that are just like me, very conservative. I don't really think it's a teacher's fault, it's a judge's fault. That's where I see the problem is. So I want to have a constitutional amendment that tells the judges to stay the heck out of these decisions, because it's not their purview to do that. Thank you. And in fact, in 1992, there was a 7-0 decision from our Supreme Court in this state that talked about the separation of powers and how you can't go into the power of another branch of government and interfere with it. 7-0, they said. Yet they're going in and they're interfering with the legislature's function all the time on this issue. And I met one of the Supreme Court justices last month, a former Chief Justice, and talked to her about it. And her feeling was, while she understood that that was true, she felt when there was a constitutional violation that they had the right to overrule that. Well, I don't think so. I think what we do now is we overrule them through our amendment. So that's the first problem. The second problem comes in the form of housing. You know, there's no federal constitutional right to housing. Although our current president does believe in that, because if you follow FDR's legacy and his freedoms, and this famous speech he gave the year before he died, he believed everybody had the right to housing and health care. And of course, we've got Obamacare now, the Affordable Health Care Act, which again is an opposite. It's actually unaffordable, we all know that. But when it comes back to housing, our Supreme Court back in the Mount Laurel decision in the early 70s said that we had to provide affordable housing in our neighborhoods, regardless of what it cost. I'm going to propose an amendment to take them out of that situation also, because we have the right, our municipalities should have the right to make those decisions. We're the ones that are paying the bills, and I like going, when I go to coffee in the morning, I see my mayor and my council people. I want to be able to go to somebody that I know and talk to them about the problems I have in my community. And right now that's not happening. The government in Trenton, as we all know, has got too big and too powerful, and we need to turn that back, and we really need to rein in the court. Now I'm going to shut up because I know I'm going to run out of time. And I've taken a lot of time already on some of the other people. So thanks a lot. I'll be here. Just talk to me. I'll be happy to talk to anyone.
Thank you, Steve. Leanne was not able to attend. Leanne is actually down. Leanne, who's running against Joe Carrillas, is actually down in D.C. at the National Day of Prayer, where Obama happens not to be. He's in Mexico, allowing all the illegals, and we still call them illegals, to come over the border. So, Andy's going to be speaking for Leanne. Dan's going to walk around with the bucket, so please, if you can, spare a buck. Spare a buck.
Couple of hundred.
Please don't, Leanne, find out that I'm speaking for her. Okay, so what are we doing here, folks? Having a good time?
Yeah.
All right. I was at the end part of the rally at the Asbury Park Press. As we were leaving, a lady pulled up, and on her front bumper, she was very enthusiastic. She had an Obama sticker on her front bumper. And she was sweet enough to roll down her window and yell at us as we crossed the street, "You lost, you lost." And Joe Allen promptly fired back, "No, the country lost." Okay? And we fought hard over the past 2 years, and the fact that we're all still here says a lot, but the point I want to make is, we have a future that we're building on, all right? We have candidates now, not candidates that are just coming to the Tea Party and saying, "I want to be endorsed by you because I agree with you and I want you to go campaign for me and go door to door." No, we have our own people now running for office, okay? That's a really important difference, and Leanne is one of them. I've known Leanne for 3 years. I worked with her very closely on different projects, so I've gotten to know her very, very well. Folks, if we, the people who honor and cherish our rights, especially our First Amendment rights and our Second Amendment rights, if we sit down here and we figure out all the qualities that we would want out of a candidate, we'd come up with Leanne Ballou, all right? You may not be in her district. Her district runs from probably Monmouth Beach across the top of Monmouth County. But I'm telling you, if she gets elected, she's going to stand up for all of us. She's going to stand up for our constitutional rights. She's going to stand up for smaller government. And she's the person that we want to help get elected, even if she's not in your district. 13th district. She's running against Joe Carrillas, who's been in the New Jersey legislature for over a couple decades. He ran for U.S. Congress, he ran for U.S. Senate, he's been an assemblyman, I've been going door to door for Leanne over the past few weekends. I'd encourage you if you can do it too. And I have a really simple line. I go up to people and I say, "Listen, I'm campaigning for Leanne Ballou and the other conservative candidates. Here's their information." And the reason why I'm giving my Sunday up for my family and being home is because I'm tired of sending the same people to Trenton and expecting different results. And all I get is positive response. All right? We have to send people that are our own people. And it can be done. I'm having a fundraiser for Leanne day after tomorrow, Saturday. My office is right up Highway 34, about 13 miles north. It does not take long to get there. We're going to have Reverend Steve Kraft come. And he's going to come and officially endorse and get the crowd going there. You don't want to miss that. If you can't make it, I'm going to pass out all the information and all that. If you can't make it, you can go on Leanne's website, make a donation. If you want to make a donation tonight, I've become high-tech enough where I can swipe your credit card right here tonight. It'll go right to her campaign fund. Folks, we win elections by going door to door, by getting people active, but we also win elections with money. You can't get around it, all right? So I'm going to encourage all of you, like I said, even if you're not in her district, this is a person who will stand up on the Senate floor and say, sorry, that's not a constitutional law. There's no sense in me going further than it. This is somebody that we want. This is someone who will not back down or cave, or if she gets the chance, I guarantee you she will not be hugging President Obama. Thank you and good night.
Listen, we've had some great people come and speak before us. Seth, thank you, because you came from way down south. Stephen, Andy for speaking for Leanne. Again, please, if you can help any of these candidates, you know, we need to make a change. It's like Andy said, they're doing the same thing over and over. That's called insanity. Why continue to vote them in? And you know what? If Seth wins and Steve wins and they go the same route that our current politicians are going, then vote them out the next time. But let's at least give them an opportunity. Yes. So, how are we doing on time, Steve? What time is it?
Yeah, you got time for questions?
Okay, anybody have any comments? Dan? Frank? Okay, Frank? Come on up, Frank. Real quick before, I have a great surprise I want to announce, so don't anybody leave until I make this announcement. Frank? Oh. Not us. Yeah, I don't know.
My name is Frank Garnick. I'm on the ballot in Ocean County, Republican ballot for Ocean County. Sorry.
You lift it up, there you go. Very loose here.
My name is Frank Garnick, and I'm on the ballot in Ocean County, Republican primary for sheriff. I'm not a politician. So my apologies to anybody who is. I'm just stating a fact, that's all. For the past year and a half, I'm going around handing out constitutions to people before I even thought about running for sheriff. Because if people don't know it, they're not going to be interested in voting. They're just going to seem to send idiots back to any of the offices that they go to. Now I started putting little stickers on them for my campaign, which is an extremely low-budget campaign. Some people were supposed to be running also backed off because the party made the decision who's going to run, and people backed out. I just went around with my petition and I got my signatures. I spoke before another Tea Party group in Toms River about a month ago. Got a friend who's making a more interesting website for me. But the issue is like this. I went to the website of the Ocean County Sheriff's Department. It said that the mission statement is to protect the life and property of the citizens. Now, I don't suppose that anybody here needs to know there's a word missing from that. Liberty. It appears nobody is concerned about that anymore. But I am. A retired policeman that I'm friends with, who I wanted him to run, he said he didn't want to run, he wanted me to run. So I did. Trenton, on February 8th, we were standing out there in the freezing cold with the wind and the rain for hours, shivering. Al Dulles from the Central Jersey Rifle and Pistol Club, when he spoke first about constitutional sheriffs. And my friend that was standing next to me, that's what you're always talking about. So much that my wife said, I can't talk about it anymore until I get the petition and get on the ballot. So I did. Now, I know this is half Monmouth County here and half Ocean County. That's fine. Al made a good point at a meeting last night that we support who is going to help everybody. Meaning, if we have somebody that either A, can't be kicked out or doesn't really need to be, give support to somebody else. Not necessarily your district, just like he was saying earlier. You got to help everybody around because we're all in this together. I have little pamphlets here. I was told I have about 10 minutes, so.
Actually, we're going to cut it
Even
short
less.
because
That's
there are
fine.
2 more candidates.
That's fine.
Right, thank you, thank you. I'll hand this over.
Anybody who wants a constitution may have one too.
Oh, thank you, Frank. Thank you so much, Frank. We have 2 more candidates. We have Edward Pukowski, who's running for freeholder, and we'll get you last. Okay. Edward, come on up. He's running for freeholder in Monmouth County.
Sorry, Edna, I got to jump over Edna tonight. Hello, everybody. My name is Ed Pekarsky. I'm running for freeholder in Monmouth County. It's actually misled. I thought I was going golfing today, but I guess not. So, just to give you a little background, I'd like to consider myself a political rookie and a veteran conservative. So, been associated with the Tea Party since about 2009. Started out originally as a conservative Republican. Got a little disenfranchised with kind of the elitism that we find in the Republican Party today. And I found that connecting with Tea Party people as yourselves, you reflected my values more than the Republicans that we currently have in office. So the reason I decided to run was because, you know, I'm part of the Bayshore Tea Party group, and we did some great work there for the last five years or so. And the people I meet eschew, you know, the conservative values that we all cherish in terms of small government, limited spending, Second Amendment, 10th Amendment, liberty, freedom. And as you can tell, we're a diverse group of people here, so we actually are the least discriminatory amongst all politicians and all political groups, as you can tell by the caliber of people that came up here today. So a little background for me, I'm 34 years old, I'm the senior of the group, and my background is in finance, which the freeholder position does entail most of the financial aspects of the county. And just to get you a little bit more familiar with what's going on in the county and in terms of where Monmouth County is in terms financially, we have a $481 million budget. Now, for us as common folk, 481 million is hard to fathom. That's an enterprise that can last and last and last. Unfortunately, it's not set up as a business, it's set up as a government. And it depends on us to fund it. And the politicians currently right now in the freeholder position, they have no idea what it is to run a $480 million enterprise because they're not responsible for any of the expenditures that they put upon us as taxpayers. As I go through the budget more and more and I see some of the things that our current freeholders are bragging about in Monmouth County in terms of that they haven't raised taxes in the last 4 years, well, they're kind of pulling the wool over our eyes because on that flat tax that they claim, that they so proudly claim they provide Monmouth County residents, the thing is that they have an operating budget which funds the government for the current year. So in order to make the budget numbers look good, they could actually push out the costs to different years and claim that they did not give us a tax hike. So it's kind of a numbers game which they perfected because, I mean, they actually do it day in and day out, and they know exactly what the citizens of the county want to hear. So by saying they haven't raised taxes in the last 4 years, and when you see that in the next month or so, just know that it's all financial management. And they push it out to different years, and they underwrite debt, and they continue to pay high, enormous amounts of debt, of $55 million a year just on the debt, that they continue to push out. So it's kind of like Obama and what he does. He wants to spend for all his programs, and eventually says, yeah, we'll take care of it, but I'll be long gone in Hawaii. And that's what our freeholders are doing. And so I think that we should be aware of the fact that it is a financial numbers game. And, you know, $481 million is not a small budget. So we could definitely, if I get in, find a lot of wasteful spending within the budget itself. And again, that's where my background is. You know, I spent 6 years analyzing corporations day in, day out for 12, 13 hours a day. And my background's an analyst, so you know, I feel I'd be pretty good qualified for the position to try to get the pork out of the budget and kind of give everyone a tax relief. So my goal in the first year would be to cut anywhere 2 to 5% of the budget, which equates anywhere from like $15 to $25 million. Now currently the freeholders are very proud of themselves also, and they said that, you know, they cut the budget by $6 million. Well, $6 million in a pie of $481 million is really, you know, pocket change. Yeah, it's absolutely nothing. And they also claim that they have that AAA debt rating, which they're very proud of. Let's not forget that in the environment that we're in, where the interest rates are unprecedentedly low, that debt that they keep bragging about, the AAA rating, really doesn't mean much when interest rates start to reverse. Now, once the interest rates start to reverse, they're going to go to the county taxpayer and say, well, how are you going to cover this cost? And what's their answer going to be? It's going to be, we're going to raise taxes. And it's pretty much guaranteed that taxes will go up within a year or two, not only because county residents, the affluent residents of Monmouth County are leaving due to the high property taxes, but they're also tied to industries that are very vulnerable to economic downturns. Biggest industry that employs people in Monmouth County is the healthcare industry. Now, with Obamacare coming down the pike, a lot of the funding for these healthcare industry companies, or the hospitals that we're all familiar with, are going to start to suffer, and their expense lines are going to start to suffer, and as a result, our employment picture is going to start to suffer. The second industry that's the biggest industry in the county that provides the most jobs and tax revenue to Monmouth County in the $481 million budget is the retail industry. And you know, when people are kind of struggling economically, they're not spending, and they kind of are more frugal and kind of look to cut their own expenses. So when we have two industries that are being attacked due to cyclical and economic reasons, as well as overreaching legislative issues, you have a bunch of freeholders that have decisions to make, and their easiest decision, since they're in the ivory tower, is to get more taxes from the people, which is us. So again, you know, I'm not a politician. I just see the budget for what it is. And, you know, I think I would do a good job there, you know, work with the people that are there and try to at least shift them over to the right more than they are, because at this point, you know, they're not liberals, they're not conservatives, they're not Republicans, they're just people in power, and they have an elitist mentality. So, thank you again, and that's what we do.
Last but not least, we have Edna Walsh. Edna?
Okay.
All right, Edna.
All right. I am a citizen candidate, and I have been where you are for many years. I have been a grassroots activist for 24 years, over 24 years. I decided to run because I'm disappointed and disgusted with the demonizing of conservative values. Professionally, I am a licensed clinical social worker with over 19 years of experience in healthcare, education, and private practice. Currently, I work in a public school, an elementary public school, actually in Ocean County. I am a defender of life. As the nation marks the 40th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, the National Right to Life Committee estimates that 54,559,615 abortions have been performed in the United States since the Supreme Court guaranteed a woman's right to this procedure in 1973. This is horrific, and our line agrees with that. It is a horrific thing. I am a defender of life from conception until natural death, regardless of how that life was conceived. I am a defender of the Second Amendment. I believe that I am entitled to protect my property, my family, and myself. And our Creator agrees. Actually, we agree with our Creator. From Scripture, Exodus 22, verse 2, if the thief is found breaking in and he is struck so that he dies, there shall be no guilt for his bloodshed.
Yeah!
We all know that guns can cost lives because the media keeps reminding us. They repeat this message endlessly. However, even regular viewers of news may never know that guns actually save lives. Yes, the viewing audience will not learn the hardcore facts about lives being saved. If guns save more lives than they actually cost, we need to know this. But instead, it is a media and political campaign to demonize law-abiding citizens and conservative groups out there. If the media covers a defensive use, it is depicted as a situation where bullets are flying all over the place in every direction. Yet, most defensive use of guns do not involve ever pulling a trigger. Well, you won't see that on television. However, let a psychopath have a gun and kill 12 people, you'll see that every 15 minutes. Why? Because the agenda is to demonize guns and demonize all gun users. We all, Republicans for Conservative leadership, agree that we are overregulated, overtaxed. We agree on the sanctity of life. We agree on all of the conservative values that you are part of the Tea Party for. You know, I've had a Tea Party spirit since before we were called the Tea Party. I belong to the Bayshore Tea Party proudly. Another thing that I am totally against, and especially working in the public schools, I'm living it, I stand against the Common Core State Standards. What are the Common Core State Standards? I'll tell you what it is. It's full control of the educational system. The handiwork behind this, the policymakers in Washington, D.C., who have so far shoved it into 45 states, including Washington, D.C. This was done with no public dialogue, no feedback from experimental educators, no research, no pilot program or experimental programs. There is no evidence that this is a good idea. Common Core State Standards kills innovation. Common Core State Standards are a setup for national standardized testing. We already have state testing and the teachers hate it. Parents hate it because we're teaching for testing. Tests cannot evaluate complex thoughts. It can't measure nonverbal learning and will waste a boatload of money. Common Core in the educational arena is what Obamacare is for healthcare. Standardizing minds is the goal of this government. This is so out of sync with the American values that most of us grew up with. The Common Core State Standards assumes what kids need to know. It does not care about the quality of the mind. It will turn our children into cogs. They will be tested, data will be collected, and they will be steered in the direction determined by the bureaucrats. If you don't know it already, we have a crisis. The attack is on the family everywhere. I see it in the schools daily. The pendulum has swung so far to the other side. I mean, the world, it's so upside down. I can't even believe in 13 years the major contrast from when I started working in public schools. The government has decided to raise our children, and we have allowed it. Breakfast and lunch are served, before and after school latchkey programs, character building interventions, modifications, accommodations. The government is raising and indoctrinating our children. We have a crisis. The way to somehow put a stop to the madness is to get to the root of the problem. We have to vote for defenders of our Constitution, We have to vote for self-reliance and not government reliance. We have to vote for life, liberty, and prosperity in the primary. Thank you.
Listen, okay.
For Edna, where are you running? What county? Oh, I'm running in Monmouth County, 13th District. 13th District. It covers 16 townships and boroughs. And if you don't live there, I'll tell you what, I have gone door to door and done everything I can to support candidates I cannot vote for. You know, it has to be we have to join and we have to stop the craziness in the State House and in D.C. If every single conservative did their duty, our White House will look different. Our State House would look different. That's why we have a crisis. So we have a responsibility. If you can't vote for me and the other Republicans for conservative leadership, contact somebody who is able to vote for us. The primary is where we make the difference.
Yes.
She said it perfectly. Everybody here, even if you don't live in Monmouth County, you know somebody in Monmouth County. Get out there. Let's do it. I mean, time is running out, folks. Let's start getting our conservative Tea Party brethren in office. So we have time done.
Could you let us know who sets the curriculum for schools throughout the country?
Well, it does, you know what, the bottom line is the Common Core State Standards has taken the sovereignty from, you know, parents are so oblivious. I went to mandatory training last week, and it is so repulsive. However, I, as a conservative who has, over the years, become very educated about what the real agenda is here, nationally. You know, it's about national takeovers for part of the one world government. It's such an agenda that most people are not aware of. You know, we have an uneducated mass of voters, and that's the problem. So we have to educate them. But as far as the curriculum, you know, school administrators would like to think that they're involved in setting the curriculum, but the Common Core State Standards has come out of Washington. The Gates have poured billions into this, Bill and Belinda Gates, because they stand to gain because of the technology that will be used. This is such a conspiracy against the family. It's an attack on the family. And I mean, you know, it's just horrible. The data that will be collected will be used against children and the family.
But it is the states that are relinquishing that authority to the national, and in the longer run to the international. One worldwide curriculum based, mostly in history.
Do you know that this curriculum will teach children to be experts at reading manuals, but they will not be exposed to literacy as far as the fine arts that we classical stuff? History will be rewritten, it already is. So it's to steer children to fill certain roles that the government has decided they will fill. And you know, this is really it's a crisis. Thank you. Thank you.
Please take some time and work with these folks. If anybody has their baseball forms filled out, give them to Jason. He'll take it. Did you get the collection there? Thank you for your contribution. It really does help. My surprise, this afternoon I spoke with the young reporter who exposed ACORN and the Holocaust that's taken place in tax-paid Planned Parenthood. I spoke to James O'Keefe. We have an opportunity. He is a courageous young man. We have an opportunity. He's putting a book out after June 18th. And I'm hoping that Bayshore will work with us, try to get something going where we can help him sell his book and get him out here and we can listen to him for as long, I mean, we could have him for a whole afternoon. So, if anybody has some good ideas, I'm thinking a nice barbecue somewhere, but if anybody has any grand ideas, I mean, how awesome would it be, let's contact the Asbury Park Press and have this young man, a true reporter. I mean, he's the one who exposed Acorn and Planned Parenthood. So keep this in mind. If you have any good ideas, come and see me afterwards. Anybody have anything they need to discuss? Because we're going to end with our traditional God Bless America. Seth? No, 10 minutes.
No. Now, if anyone would like to help me out by putting this wonderful lawn sign on your private property, please see me. I have about 100 signs in my car. Hand out some of my palm cards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Seth. Don, will you come up and lead us? We miss you, Don. You haven't been around for the last couple of months.
Get back and do your job, slacker.
All right. I can remember the words.
I thank you all for attending. We had a great turnout. Next month, let's double it. Don? Do it.
Everybody up! Everybody up! Let's all sing God Bless America. Ready? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Thank you all. God bless you. Help these candidates out, please. Yes. Wait, folks, we have one more speaker real quick, Joe. One more speaker.
Sorry, Joe.
It's all right, Dan.
Joe.
Hi, folks. I just wanted
Joe, move on. No, get back. He's behind the stand.
First time for everything, right?
Thanks, everybody.
Anyway, my name is Joe Abriscato. I'm working in the campaign for the Republicans for conservative leadership, and I'm working in the South Monmouth, West Monmouth area for Dan Peters and the Freeholder candidates, because we need to cover some ground in those areas. So if anybody's interested in volunteering to do some door-to-door activities, please see me. I have my business card. Thank you.